Okay, good morning. This is day 85 of making little videos about the day in the thought of the life of the schizophrenic Dominic. I believe that I am not diseased or crazy, but I know that I experience schizophrenia. I have been diagnosed with schizoid affective disorder and treated like a paranoid schizophrenic. And in day 17 or day 45 of these videos, I have on my YouTube and posted to pinned posts and various other social medias. I describe why I call myself a schizophrenic rather than targeted individual. In day 45, I discuss why I give an intro into why I make these videos. It is done to express some amount of sanity amidst the world going crazy and turning things around and telling everybody that I was crazy. I have my book on my pinned posts and to the topic sections of these videos. It's called Unveiling the Schizophrenic Tradition. It's at medium.com. I'm writing it. I've pretty much written it, and I submit chapters there for people to read for free and give you an insight into why I may have been targeted with warfare to try to drive me crazy. Okay, so I every day I express little thoughts and ideas from books that I read and to give you an insight into synchronicity and things of that nature, potentially even like a time through time. And I was going to start off with today talking about synchronicity, potentially in the simulation book I'm reading regarding the simulation, simulated multiverse book. And in that book, it talks about Tessa Dick, and she is the wife of Philip K. Dick, and it was discussing potentially how uh, ideas for a simulation were taken from that story, science fiction or whatever, and the inclusion of that in the simulation or whatever, and the idea that I'm subject to a simulated schizophrenic reality. Tessa Dick. Tessa was the name of a lady who burned me when I went to Chicago in for Lollapalooza when I was younger, and we were at a bar, and this girl named Tessa. I don't even know why she told me her name. I can't even remember, but she burned me with her cigarette, and I never knew if it was like some sort of weird like witch ritual or something, or I don't know what was going on with that, but it was some weird bizarre thing or whatever. And so yeah, Philip K. Dick, wife is named Tessa Dick. So take that for what it's worth, and people who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. Pew Research poll. Uh, is reading in my book called Never Enough about the toxic achievement culture, and it was describing how college rankings sometimes are overblown a little bit, and it was discussing like public universities versus private universities, and it said there was no discernible difference. The Pew Research poll found that there was no discernible difference between public universities and private universities. And I don't know if I believe that because no discernible difference in the outcomes that people had for their reported outcomes for their lives and private and social lives and stuff like that. And I don't know if I believe that because, and you go to a private university, there's a lot of networking that happens in this country, and I think being a part of a network is probably going to be beneficial. So they conducted this author is basing something off of one research poll, and I'm not so sure that that is a scientific method to determine whether or not there's benefits to going to private universities with networks and stuff like that. And yeah, so that's my thought process on it when I was reading it. So I just share that out. I'd like to. Oh, okay. So in another book I was reading called Fingerprints of the Gods, it was discussing how Neanderthals are. It was discussing Neanderthals were highly sensitive people, and we all have Neanderthal DNA. Not we all, but I think a lot of us have Neanderthal DNA. I think everyone does, but some more than others have Neanderthal DNA. And I wanted to take a test to find out how much Neanderthal DNA I have. And I was in reading that book right now. I was just wondering, like maybe I'm kind of highly sensitive to violence. Someone was asking, name one thing that you totally detest that other people love, and for me, it's violence. And I had a dream last night. In my dream, my friends were tending to this guy who was their friend, and he had been in a UFC fight, and he was all messed up and everything. And I was saying like, oh, so they were asking me, "Do you want to go to a UFC fight?" And I was like, "No, I don't really want to because I don't really like watching people get harmed. I don't like that." And uh, he was like, oh, "It's a whole league. It's a league fighting championship league and everything." And I was like, "No, I don't really want to see that." And I was thinking that in reading this about Neanderthals, I was like, I wonder if my sensitivity is maybe I'm a highly sensitive because I'm like part Neanderthal or something, and I don't really know. Like I'm kind of short and stocky. I don't know if I'm short and stocky, but I have like a thicker body or whatever. So I don't know. I don't know. I have no basis for that. But I was thinking like maybe that's why I'm really sensitive to violence and I don't like it. And yeah, I don't like seeing other people get harmed. It's not really exciting to me. So yeah. Okay, a David A. Hughes book about COVID-19 psychological operations in the war for technocracy. He discusses Ewan Cameron, and I had known about Ewan Cameron, and he was a psychiatrist who was head of a bunch of psychiatric organizations, and he had engaged in he's a Canadian, and he had engaged in mind control with the CIA, experimenting on all these people and depatterning their minds and stuff. And also David A. Hughes discusses that guy that I had said earlier, the Rhys character, and he called for mobile shock troop. This Rhys character called for mobile shock troops to conduct experiments on people on a mobile basis, and these troops would be loyal to an overall network of mind control people, and they would not be loyal to institutions. And so I thought that was kind of interesting because one of the things that happens with the targeted individual program and schizophrenia and the mind control and everything is it undermines political institutions. We're seeing kind of uh, after decades long process of undermining these institutions, in comes this brain control billionaire named Elon Musk, and he's now capitalizing off of this uh, undermining of institutions, and he's cutting institutions and everything like that, and he's cutting the government and he's dismantling the government. And I thought that was interesting because it's like, oh, maybe that was all part of the process. That was the part of the point of doing these mind control programs, was to undermine political institutions. And I thought the same thing about 9/11, and potentially that it was all part of a controlled demolition to undermine US government institutions. And yeah, so the truth, the 9/11 truth comes out, and it's like the truth is set you free, or supposedly, but it's really about undermining institutions. And I think that might be the whole point. All right. Okay, so in the Rees, in my Matthew McConaughey book, he talks about the kid that he was in the exchange program for the Doolies. Uh, in was named Rhys. So there's that name Rhys coming up again. Uh, my I had explained that in a previous video about the math teacher that I had in school, and he was named Rhys, and then I was referring to the Rhys character in this book I'm reading about David A. Hughes, and then there's this Rhys character in the book I'm reading about green lights called Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. And so this Rhys character comes up all in these books that I'm reading, and it's kind of this name Rhys or whatever. So yeah, biofeedback in schizophrenic feedback. I get that sometimes, and I will report it here. And one of the feedback I got the other day, I was thinking I'm going to Disney with my family, and I was thinking, I'm a little scared of submarines. I don't think I would ever get in a submarine on the sea. And the only submarine I would get on is the Disney one. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, you could drown. You could go to the bottom of the sea in the Disney submarine, or the bottom of the aquarium thing that they have there. And I was thinking, like, I don't know if I want to get on that Disney submarine, even though I kind of like it. It's nice to get in. It's nice and cool on a hot day, but I don't think it's gonna be too hot when we go in a couple weeks and stuff. So, uh, yeah. So I was thinking about that, and I had thought that the other day, and a few days later, there is a submarine that people drowned. Supposedly, I hope it was a fake story. I don't. I never know if these stories are real, if they're fake. And so, a tourist submarine sunk in the sea, and the tourists drowned. And I was thinking, like, I would never want to get in a submarine. And so, yeah, that happened. So that's the biofeedback I get, and I think it's done to scare me. It's I don't know exactly why they do it. I guess it's to intimidate me or to play upon my fears and stuff like that. So, yeah. All right. Next topic. Opening day for baseball is today. I'm a Dodger fan, but some other teams I like are the Orioles, the Tigers, the Mets, Red Sox. Those are some other teams I like, but I'm really a Dodger fan. I like the Padres and the Angels because they're so Cal. I don't really like the Giants because of the Dodger thing. They were kind of jerks for a little bit, but I kind of like West Coast teams. So if the Giants ever got to like a World Series, I'd probably root for them. I don't dislike San Francisco or anything like that as a city. I like it. So, uh, but their team's not a very appealing. They never put together like good players on their teams. At least not for about a decade or so. So, but they have a pretty park and everything. So, I was reading in my baseball book about Citi Field, the Mets stadium, which I've been to, and apparently I didn't realize this, but it pays homage to the teams that came before the Mets in the New York area, like the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants from the early 20th century. And uh, yeah, so I guess the facade, how it's all kind of like a brick facade and stuff. It was paid homage to like Ebbets Field and everything, and so I hadn't realized that when I went, and so now that I know that, it just makes it a lot much cooler of a park, and it was one of my favorite parks I've been to. I haven't been to that many, but Petco is up there too. I do like Dodger Stadium because it's got the LA feel and everything, but yeah. All right, so thanks you for listening to me today. This one was kind of a boring one. Like I don't have like deep thoughts constantly or whatever. Sometimes it's just like surface level stuff. So okay, goodbye.